What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. We're your hosts, Jarrett Wilson and Rachel Mogan.
How's it going?
And Team Chat Podcast is a video game podcast where we talk about games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. If you want to get in contact with us, you can do that by sending us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com, following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and subscribing to our YouTube and iTunes channels. If you want to support the show, you can do that as well by going to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show, and in return, we will give you a cool perk, like getting the episodes early before its general Tuesday release, and access to our private Team Chat Podcast Discord server. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun stuff happening over there.
You had a little bit of a stumble there on the Gmail.
Little bit. But we move on, we press forward, we don't notice some past mistakes. It's in the past.
Such is life.
Says. Yeah.
You know, if it were really in the past, you wouldn't have such a backlog that's always preventing you from progressing to new games. Ooh, hard called out.
That's true.
Called out,
That's
bro.
True. And I'm already feeling behind this year.
Actually, what's funny is you were talking with Kirok on Twitter about, tell me the name of the game again?
Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Kingdom Come Deliverance. And you abbreviated Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But see, I was struggling with that because in my head, when I saw AC Origins, all I could come up with was Animal Crossing Origins. And I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, was there a new Animal Crossing game?
And it's the one for the Switch. You missed it.
For the Switch. You really threw me in.
Animal Crossing Origins.
And then I was finally like, oh, it's Assassin's Creed. But it took me like a solid few minutes to puzzle it out and be like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I was pretty embarrassed about that one.
All right, before we get to our main topic of today's show, we are going to get a bit of news, games that are coming out, other little tidbits to tantalize our dreams and fantasies with.
Oh, indeed. And there's a lot to talk about. So I hope you heard about it. I feel like you'll be almost as excited about this as me. There are rumors, pretty confirmed, that the Spyro trilogy is getting a reboot. I'm more excited about this one than I was about Crash Bandicoot's Insane trilogy.
Right.
And the great thing about it is that it's being developed by the same studio that did the Insane trilogy. So Vicarious Visions will be producing, presumably to be announced in March, a new reboot of the Spyro trilogy.
Speaking of Crash Bandicoot, slight aside, did you see that it's getting a new game in 2019?
I believe I did see that. Now, after the Insane trilogy, I feel like, where can they go from here? Crash Bandicoot was already a classic, so I hope that maybe it will be as good as the original trilogy.
It'll be interesting to see.
I'm interested to see, but the Spyro one, I could not be more pleased about that. So it should be announced in March, fingers crossed, for launch, presumably in Q3 of this year.
Nice.
So we're thinking maybe September, October, around there.
Nice.
So a pre-holiday release that I could not be more excited about, most likely going to be a PS4 exclusive, because that's a classic Sony game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then in other news, Stardew Valley, I know we have a couple of listeners really into Stardew, is expected to have a multiplayer beta up and running by this spring. So that's a big maybe, because Stardew Valley is an indie game, not a lot of developers on it, but maybe there will be a multiplayer beta coming soon.
That'd be interesting to see how multiplayer's into that.
I'm really interested in that.
Well, because games like Civilization have multiplayer and all that, and so they're able to figure it out. But I don't know. I'm not as familiar with Stardew Valley, so I could be talking out my ass here. But we'll be interesting to see how they develop a multiplayer for it. Maybe it just means that you and your
friends can compete for waifus.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I really hope is in the beta.
Or you can join up and help manage the farms.
Oh, it'll probably be lame stuff like that. You're probably right. And in Overwatch news, the London Spitfire has just announced a new offshoot Overwatch Contenders team.
Ooh.
So for anyone that doesn't know, Overwatch Contenders is kind of like Overwatch Minor League, more or less. So Contenders is often where a lot of Overwatch League big bads actually come from. So they've announced the British Hurricane, their Contenders counterpart, and they're going to be making their debut a little bit later this year with some pretty notable names. Among them, what's his name? Craggy. Okay. A lot of people know Craggy for he's a big tank main. Everybody loves Craggy. And along similar veins, this was obviously the big news that I'm finally happy to be able to announce. The Shanghai Dragons have officially signed Geguri, Overwatch League's official first female competitor. So
damn time.
It's about damn time, rolling my eyes, but it's better than never. And then in other out now and coming soons, we have Metal Gear Survive for PS4, PC, Xbox One at February 20th, this day's launch.
That game seems interesting.
What's Metal Gear like without Hideo Kojima?
And what's Metal Gear like when it's suddenly like a survival horror.
I know.
It's weird.
I'm not jazzed about it. Let's just put it that way. Age of Empires Definitive Edition for PC, February 20th.
That makes me want to build a gaming PC.
I was about to say that sounds like it's going to be a really good one.
I'm so mad. I really hope that gets ported to Mac at some point, but I doubt it will.
Ported to Mac.
I doubt it will, but it makes me so sad. Like that legitimately makes me want to buy
a real PC, buddy.
I edit on Mac, so it's like I use the Mac for all my but stuff like that. But like, I mean, I could also very easily switch that over to probably PC. But then,
right on.
I don't know, but that's got me excited.
And then in RPG news, Xenon Valkyrie Plus for Xbox One, February 20th. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus, the longest name you've ever heard, for Switch, February 22nd. We've got Stellaris Apocalypse for PC, also February 22. Getting out of breath. Past Cure for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, February 23rd. Yume Nikki Dream Diary for PC, February 23, and Gravel, Xbox One, February 26.
Nice.
And in other news, last little tidbit for you, Steam's Lunar New Year sale is going on right now as of this episode's launch, and a little bit before that too. So get those sweet games. They've got big ones like Cuphead for 15% off. They've got Hollow Knight, which Bro Mogan just finished. He can definitely attest to its greatness.
He likes that
along
one.
with other ones like Overcooked, Rocket League, Stardew Valley.
Get Overcooked.
Dead by Daylight, Divinity Original Sin, Evil Within 2, and much, much more, all on sale. Steam Lunar New Year sale happening now.
I bought Divinity Original Sin, I think during Black Friday.
Oh.
I think. Yeah, because I was just like, I had that itch for an RPG, you know? And I know it's Diablo-esque and how it's set up. But I'd heard a lot of good things about Divinity Sin 2. Divinity Original Sin 2. And so I was like, well, I'll play it. And it was like $13 for the enhanced edition that came with all this extra stuff. So I was like,
so fancy.
It came with the soundtrack. I was happy.
Oh, well, actually, if it comes with a soundtrack, I'm in.
I know. That's what I'm about.
That's all
it's actually
I want.
a pretty good soundtrack, too.
That's all I want from enhanced and definitive editions is the soundtrack.
Like, seriously, collector's edition of anything, if you buy a collector's edition, like, that's what I'm mad about, or not mad, but like the God of War Stonemason edition that I pre-ordered, like, it doesn't come with the soundtrack. I'm like, come on now.
And actually, before I forget, did we officially announce on the show that our prior interview with Andrew Aversa,
we
aka
have not said
Zircon,
it on the show.
Oh, let's say it on the show real quick.
You sent out posts on Facebook and Twitter about it.
So we did a bunch on social media, but for anyone that was wondering, the follow-up to our interview with Zircon, who was in the process of developing his own game, Tangle Deep.
Episode 80, if you want to go back and check
that
that out.
was back in episode 80 of last year. That game did officially launch recently.
Nice.
So it's a classic dungeon crawler RPG. It looks really beautiful in its final version, and I really cannot say enough good things about the soundtrack. Obviously, the reason I knew about Zircon in the first place was from his music.
Right.
Him and a few others worked on the soundtrack together, and it is A+ quality. So if you're looking for even just a new soundtrack, you can check it out on Bandcamp. You can buy it. I got it because I was a Kickstarter backer.
I need to start looking at Kickstarter back.
I'm telling you, you can get some cool stuff.
Well, because like I saw somebody on Reddit who had backed Kingdom Come Deliverance, and they got like 3 or 4 T-shirts, all this cool shit.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
You get cool exclusive.
I mean, I'm assuming
stuff.
that person kicked a lot of money.
They probably
its way,
did.
But I mean, Kingdom Come Deliverance looks, from everything I've seen, straight up my alley.
But I will definitely say, I think I backed like $15 for Tangle Deep, and it 100% was worth the soundtrack. I would happily pay that twice over.
Well, in bonus points, I sent this. I texted this to you the other day that I saw, like, because when it was coming out and all that stuff, Ashley Birch tweeted out the trailer because she was like, "Hey, I did the voiceover for the trailer." And I was like, yes. Well, is that all the news?
That's all the news.
Didn't want to cut it off too early. If you still have a
No,
little bit
that's
more.
all the news. We went through the whole list of news.
Excellent. So now, hitting our main topic here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, gosh.
And now, we probably could have planned this a little bit better. But it's the week after Valentine's Day. And so, or technically still by the time we're recording, it's the week of Valentine's Day. So I felt like I'm going to allow this. We're going to do Volume 2 of our romances and relationships topic. We did the first volume last year, Valentine's Day. So go back and check that out. I do not know the episode number.
I don't remember what we talked about either. Like, I think I can remember.
Zach brought up Cortana and Master Chief because I didn't want to restrict it to only romances.
Right.
Because that seems a little restrictive.
Because some of the best relationships are either platonic ones or like familial ones.
Exactly. So I didn't want to restrict it to purely like, love interests. And so that's why I opened it up to be just like, oh, hey, here's a couple of, different things like that. It can be like 2 characters that are really good friends. Or, familial relationship, but basically we opened it up. Set the game pretty wide. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All that good stuff.
I know Zach brought up Cortana. I talked about romancing characters in Dragon Age 2, I believe, because I talked about my romance with Anders the Mage and then Isabella the Pirate.
Wait, when did you talk about who's the dwarf guy that you love?
Varric?
When did you talk about Varric and his crossbow of Bianca?
I think in Favorite Weapons.
Oh, that was Favorite Weapons. I thought for sure that one made it into the romancisode.
No, because I don't think Varric's actually a romanceable character. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dragon Age players. But I think Varric's not a romanceable character. At least in Dragon Age 2, which I had played. It got set aside in my backlog, but I haven't played all the way through Dragon Age Inquisition yet. And he might be there.
He's in Inquisition, and I feel like he's a romanceable character.
Yeah, he might be. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, so we have a list of a couple of our favorite relationships and romances. Per usual, with our typical list format, we don't know the others' picks. So let's see if we cross over at all. But would you like to kick us off with our first?
I am 100% certain we have zero crossover.
I don't know. I have one that I was like, we might.
Okay, we'll see. So
it's my honorable mention. So if we have enough time, I figured we could definitely
hide that list. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, no, that's why it's turned over.
Oh, okay, it's face down. Gotcha. Yeah. My number 2, Sans honorable mentions. We're going to be talking about a favorite couple of mine. They actually haven't been talked about that much on the show at all before because they're from a very old game that got a recent remaster, Okami. So we're going to be talking about Kushi and Susanoo. Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
All right, just checking. Jarrett's messing with the sound stuff, and it always throws me off and weirds me out.
I don't mean to.
So Kushi and Susanoo, are you familiar with these fine characters
at all,
I have not, good sir? So Susanoo is actually one of the main, I guess you would call him a deuteragonist, my favorite word to bring back all the time. So he's not the protagonist, but he's like your secondary side character protagonist.
Okay.
So Susanoo, in the lore of Okami, is actually the descendant of a legendary hero named Nagi. And this was all from events that happened 100 years ago. So the game starts, and they keep referencing events that happened 100 years ago. So 100 years ago, Susanoo's ancestor, Nagi, fought the beast Orochi, the 8-headed serpent, and defeated him and saved the world, blah, blah, blah. But the reason that Nagi had to defeat Orochi in the first place was because they live in a village called Kamiki Village. And Kamiki Village is a tiny, beautiful, feudal Japanese, I guess would be the word, feudal Japanese town where they are plagued by a demon, Orochi, the dreaded Orochi. So what Orochi's whole thing is he's a classic monster villain. He wants you to make a sacrifice of the village's most beautiful maiden every freaking year, which considering their population, there's actually no way that the years would work out that they would be able to supply enough maidens of the right age.
Maybe they import maidens from
Maybe
other
they're
villages.
importing maidens. They could be doing that. But so the whole spiel is that every year on the festival, every year on the night of the annual festival, Orochi will shoot a white blazing arrow over the doorway of the cursed maiden.
Oh, no.
And then the village has to send her off to Orochi's cave where he eats her. That's literally what he's going to do. He's going to straight up eat her. So that was all 100 years ago, though. Nagi defeated Orochi. He slew the beast. He saved his own love, who I can't remember what her name was in the ancient times. But that's also not important because now we're in the here and now. And in the here and now, we've got Susanoo, who is Nagi's descendant, and Kushi, who is the village's sake brewer. So she's adorable. She has a very important job, and she's really, really cute. And every time, so you're Amaterasu, so you're like a wolf. Every time you're around, she's like, I love you. She's so cute and adorable. And Susanoo, contrary to his lineage, he's really kind of like a lazy oaf. So he's got this reputation. He's Nagi's descendant. He's supposed to be, born from heroes, basically. So everybody has all of these really high expectations for him. And you get the feeling that he does have some sword abilities. His house is covered in swords. He's got a training thing out back. Yeah. But he's like drunk and asleep all the time.
Oh.
So he's really well known for being like the village drunk, and he just stays in his basement and drinks his days away and snores and hits on Kushi. And that's like pretty much their whole deal. So you already know that Kushi and Susanoo probably have like a crush on each other based on talking to Kushi, because she'll be like, oh, you know, Susanoo usually helps me with the harvest, but he hasn't been able to help me lately. I guess he's not feeling so good because, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't played Okami before, Susanoo accidentally woke Orochi back up.
Oh, damn it.
So it's kind of his fault. He undid all of the good work done by his ancestor, and he woke Orochi back up, and now the world is in mortal peril because of it. So he actually sets in motion all of the events of the game. And so all of a sudden, you know, it's been 100 years of peace, and then all of these curse zones are appearing around the map. You know that shit's going down outside the village, and then all of a sudden, on the annual festival, which is now a happy festival for Kamiki Village,
Because he hadn't been woken up.
A blazing white arrow comes shooting out of the sky, strikes Kushi's house, and she's like, well, shit.
This is an unpleasant turn of events.
This is an unpleasant turn of events. So they know Orochi is back. They know what was done in the past. And Kushi's like, you know what? She has a real stand-up moment. She's like, because they're trying to get Susanoo to help. So this whole time they're like, Kushi's in danger. She's going to get sacrificed to the beast. You know, what are you going to do, Susanoo? And he's just locked up in his house. And he's like, go away. I'm not responsible for this. Like, really, like, rejecting his lineage.
Yeah.
And so Kushi's like, well, man, I don't want everybody to die because of me, so I'm going to stand up. So, like, she puts on her sacrificial white robes, and she, like, goes to Amaterasu, and she's like, okay, I'm going out there. Don't try to stop me. And she, like, runs to Orochi's cave, and you're like, oh, shit, I got to go after her. So, like, you run after her, and you find her, and Amaterasu's like, okay, we're going in there together. They can't talk, obviously, because you're a wolf.
It's just
but
like,
it's like camaraderie. It's like I'm a
Winx.
wolf goddess.
It's like, I'm going to help you out.
You're a sacrificial maiden. We can help each other out, man. So you actually carry Kushi on your back all the way to the lunar cave, the moon cave, that's what they call it, which is where Orochi lives. And so Kushi gets, you know, taken into the cave, I guess. What's a fortress? It's like a fortress in there.
Oh, okay.
So Kushi gets snatched up by Orochi. She's taken deep into the fortress. You get separated, so you're no longer with her. But you know, based on a side quest where you have to gather ingredients for a demon chef, that they are cooking the appetizer that Orochi will eat before he eats Kushi. So you've got a little bit of time.
Okay.
So you're like, okay, he always eats an appetizer before the main course. Good for him, living his best life. So one of the side quests of this fortress is, of course, you're collecting all these ingredients for this guy. And once you do that, you stow away, like old school style, basically on the food cart.
Nice.
So they take you up to like his main lair, and you're like, surprise, bitch, I'm here. And you find Orochi and you find Kushi, and you're like, oh man, I gotta save her. So you leap into battle, right? And it's not going well. Because what happened 100 years ago is the reason they were able to beat Orochi in the first place is because the maiden from 100 years ago had this legendary sake called 8 purification sake, which he has 8 heads, 8 purification sake, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. You don't have that because Susanoo drank it all. He drank all of the super special sake, and now you have none left, and you're like, crap, this is not going well. I can't get Orochi drunk to take down his magical barrier, which is how you beat him. Mm-hmm. But luckily, Kushi's like, don't worry, Amaterasu, I brought my patented Thunder Brew! And she like holds it over her head like this, and you're like, yeah, Kushi, you go! And so she like dumps it into this magical water, and then you're able to basically force feed Orochi using the power of your magical brush a bunch of sake, and you get him drunk.
Nice.
So once you like knock out enough of his heads, you can actually start to deal damage to him. His magical barrier goes down. It's awesome. It's a great boss battle.
Sounds like it.
And
A
then
lot of parts
finally, it's long. The whole fight takes like 20 to 30 minutes if you do it badly.
Oh,
if you do it well, it doesn't take that long. But if you're not so good at it, it takes a little bit more time. But after a certain point in the fight, you're like, man, I gotta do something to actually kill this guy.
Yeah.
And who comes a running? Susanoo.
He finally got out of his
Kushi's
house.
one true love. He finally busts out of his house. He looks adorable. He has like wooden armor on and he's like literally shaking in his boots as he's like trying to face Orochi because he's not really a hero.
Right.
The whole arc of his story is that like he's a fake hero. He's fake news. And he's like, I can do it. I am the descendant of Nagi. I'll save you, my woman. And she's like, you're here. Yay. It's all very classic.
You long enough,
Took
even though
you
like I
long
was about to
enough.
kill myself
Me and
to save
Amaterasu were
everybody,
okay.
and you were chilling, and now
You
you're
got
here.
drunk
I
and now
guess
you're
it works. All right,
It's all
whatever.
right,
I'll look past
yeah,
it.
she's looking the other way on that. But so he actually comes into the fight, and using the teamwork between him and Amaterasu, you're able to call down the power of the moon, and then you bait him. Everybody lives happily ever after.
Oh, that's good.
Also, this is only like 1/3 of the way through the game.
Oh.
So there's actually a lot that happens after this. So it's kind of spoilery, but not really because there's so much game after
Yeah,
that.
it's not like it's the final boss.
And so I guess that they're one of my favorite couples because their whole arc spans A, a significant portion of the game, and B, they get a happy ending.
That's
and
good.
I do actually love people that get happy endings. Not everything has to be all doom and gloom all the time.
Yeah.
So once you save Kushi and you go back to Kamiki Village, they have the festival like regular, and everybody's getting drunk. They're having a good time. And one of my favorite things is that you can go around and talk to all the villagers, and they're like, oh, well, we can't find Susanoo and Kushi. Nobody knows where they are. And you're like, oh, snap. Are they out there having romancing times? And actually, there's a bit of not really a spoiler, more of like an Easter egg. There we go. An Easter egg of if you actually leave the village while it's still village time and go back to the moon cave, you totally do find Susanoo and Kushi. And they're not doing anything scandalous yet. But they're like,
But she brought some of her sake.
But they've got some stuff,
some candles,
some party times.
little picnic set up.
And they're, but actually it's revealed through that talk because of course you bust into their times and Susanoo's like, oh my God, go away. It's revealed that Susanoo could actually see that you were a god the whole time.
Oh.
He just chose to ignore it because he's like a douchebag.
I guess.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I knew. It's okay. Oh no, it's not the moon cave. It's the cave of Nagi. Sorry, they're two very different places.
Now the story doesn't make sense.
My bad. It's a different location, but still, it's a cave. You gotta forgive me. All the caves look the same to me. But so you can find them, and he's like, "Oh, I knew you were a god the whole time," and you're like, "Oh, you're crazy kids. You go and have fun, and then you leave." And they live happily ever after.
They have fun.
In Okami Den, they do have a kid. So I guess we know when that kid was created.
9 months later.
9 months afterwards. So Sushi and Susanoo and Kushi.
Nice.
They're my number 2 pick.
Very good. Very good. Well, my number 2 pick is from a more recent game. And it's always funny whenever we do these lists, like we come up with the topic, what we want to do, and then my mind instantly goes blank. And I can't think of anything. And I literally thought of this one, which was like, oh, duh. This morning? Or maybe last night.
It's from a newer game?
Newer game.
Let me see if I can guess it.
Okay, go for it.
How new?
Currently playing.
Oh, currently. Oh, from Assassin's Creed.
It is.
AKA Animal Crossing Origins.
That's right. No. So my romance, and this one is actually a romance, is between the main character Bayek and his wife Aya.
Aw, and they're already married.
They are.
How lovely.
It is. It's a lovely tale. Now, I haven't finished the game, like I said, still in process because I spend a hell of a lot of my time derping around doing side quests. It's a great game.
And if you don't, then you're not a real gamer.
If I'm just doing the main story missions, that's boring. And I'll play the
Hashtag
game,
fake gamer.
And I'll play the game in like 2 hours. No, I need the full experience. Going for that platinum on that one, I did decide. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I don't know totally how their story resolves and how it ends. But of what I've experienced, it's very interesting dynamic that it throws into the game. So brief and slightly spoilery.
Luckily, I will never play this game.
I don't know. I think you should.
I mean, you can say that all you want. The likelihood that I will ever play it is virtually zero. So go right ahead, good sir.
Okay. Well, I know, but there are listeners out there. Oh, snap. Camera.
Oh.
There are listeners out there who, might be looking forward to this. So I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as I can. So anyway, Bayek is a member of this order in Egypt called the Medjay. And the Medjay are tasked with basically protecting Egypt.
I know about this from The Mummy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There you go.
Have you seen The Mummy?
I have not, actually.
Oh my God, it's the best action comedy of all time.
It's been on my list for
You're
forever.
crazy.
We've been over this. I have
You
a
would know
backlog
all
of movies
about
just as much
this
as I
if
do
you
as a
had seen
backlog
The
of
Mummy.
games.
I already know what happens.
Okay, well, anyway, so you're familiar with the Magi then.
I'm familiar with the
Okay.
Magi.
And so anyway, so he's a protector of this. And in the events of the game that kind of kick the game off and why he goes on this hunt for the bad guys who, as of this point in the game, they're the foundations of what I would assume become the Templar Order that you fight in all the previous games. What kicks it off is in his home territory of Siwa, his home city. There's some goings-ons and things he has to investigate and go see. And in the process of that, again, without being too spoilery, but this is a slight spoiler, so close your ears. I'll give you a few seconds. His son is killed.
Oh my God, how old is the kid?
Like less than 10.
Oh, so that's actually quite tragic.
It's very
That's
tragic.
very
It's very tragic. And it's a recurring event that keeps coming back up throughout the rest of the game.
Like in the animated classic, The Prince of Egypt.
Yes. Although that is a great movie.
That is a great movie.
No sarcasm there.
Oh, that's a killer movie.
And so, anyway, so that is this huge formative thing. Now, the thing about it, at this point in the game, I don't think you had met, because the beginning of the game kind of takes this, like, is a flashback, and then it kind of does a flash forward, like all these different things. Yeah, no, you haven't met his wife yet at this point in the game. You meet her later in Alexandria.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about Aya is she's not just like his wife. She is also, I don't know if she's, I need to clarify this, but I believe she is also a Magi.
Oh, okay, very cool.
So she
I was gonna
actually
guess senator.
No.
Turns out
so
I'm
she
wrong.
actually plays a very important role in this as well, because she's not. Damn it! I'm trying to confirm myself so that way I don't say wrong things.
Maybe she's also a librarian. Famous Library of Alexandria.
Possible, but
Possibly.
she's not. So. The thing about her, though, is so that she is also involved in this and is involved in the same your same goal, but in a different way. And so it's this whole thing of like the Bayek and Aya,
let me see
which that's her. She is badass.
Yeah, she looks super cool. Great outfit, great style.
Oh yeah. And so the thing about them though is so that they have this. Okay, so I don't think she's not a Magi.
Oh, so she's just a regular badass.
Yeah. But she has like some training and different things like that. So anyway, she's capable of killing people, which she does quite well. And so the thing about this is so you meet her here and it's these instances of, and it's been one of the great things about that not only makes Assassin's Creed Origins stand out in the Assassin's Creed games is that Bayek has been one of the most relatable characters as a whole because, I love the other previous assassins that I love was Ezio Auditore, which he was great. He's this younger, cocky guy who then grows up into be an older, wiser man, but still kind of holds his own same things. Kind of a playboy kind of stuff going on. But Bayek is through and through, even though he has to commit these, a very violent acts and do these things to save Egypt and save his people, he's very much at his core like a family man. And Aya is as well. And so it's this really sweet moment where like they meet in Alexandria and they, like every time they see each other and they interact with each other in the game, like they run to each other and she like jumps into his arm, and all this, and they like make out for a bit while everyone else is standing there being like, come on guys, we got stuff to talk about. But so Aya is hooked up, and the reason why you're not together is so you're both hunting these people but Bayek is doing it in the service of Egypt and his own somewhat quest for revenge. Aya is doing it because she is now serving Queen Cleopatra.
Ooh, that's super cool.
Exactly. And so at this point into the main power struggle in this game is that she's trying to wrestle power from her brother Ptolemy.
Right.
And so
how we all know Egyptian history.
I do, because it's even better now because of this game. And so she is with Queen Cleopatra, and so Ptolemy is being controlled by this order that you're fighting. So you both have this end goal of trying to fight this order, bring down this order, and Bayek is doing it as a means of revenge. Aya is also, but she has more allied herself with being like, I'm doing this because Cleopatra is the one I need to be putting myself behind, and she's decreeing this. And it's almost seeming like she wants Bayek to let the past go in a way. Like she's like, that happened, it's terrible, and I obviously am heartbroken about it all. But now we need to see a greater future that we need to work towards. And so, as you go through the game more, they have these instances of this conflict about it where it's like we're on the same side, but we're kind of having this rift. And so it's a very just interesting dynamic that the game has thrown in there, and it just makes either of them very personable characters and that's what I mean by very easy to relate to, just because they seem...
Every marriage has its struggles.
You know.
You're killing people, I'm killing people, but our reasons are
meet in the middle
different. So we got to meet in the middle to kill people together.
Exactly. And there are a few points where that does happen.
See, I knew it.
It's fun. It's fun. And so I don't know. It's just one of those things that are great coupling that I don't have that as for like a husband and wife pairing in a video game. Haven't necessarily found or can think of many other examples of. And so but it's just a great how the moments where they do get to see each other, are filled with pure joy. They also have fun, as your couple did. And so, a couple
it's
times.
It's probably not as PG as Okami is, though.
Actually, it is well done.
Okami may even be rated G.
It, goes to black, fade to black.
Oh, it fades to black. Okay, that's classy. That's
heavily
classy.
make it. Yeah, it's tastefully handled.
Tastefully handled.
And so, and so you can just see that there's this obvious, genuine, pure love there. But then it's also then like they have that moment together every time they see each other, and that's always it's just a wonderful moment. Like it's happened 3-4 times, and they're always just as excited to see each other. And then they're always this like, oh, when do we get to see each other again? I don't know. I gotta go. Cleopatra's sending me over here. Well, I gotta go this way because I gotta kill some dudes over here. Shit. Well, all right. But so it's just it's very real and very genuine, and I think that's legitimately why it hit my list. And obviously, I'm playing it now, so it's very fresh. But it's just I don't know. It's just lovely.
It's just lovely.
It's just
Good
lovely
for them.
And I really
Making
just
it
enjoy
work
seeing them more.
in
I've
times of
heard
hardship.
things get weird. Like I don't know,
weird?
not weird.
Oh gosh,
but like
what were you gonna say?
This rift maybe gets bigger.
Oh, okay.
I'm not that far yet.
Man,
so
what if the game ends with them getting the world's first ever divorce?
Yeah,
that'd be pretty great.
I don't know. I feel like at this point they've probably had a few divorces already.
They've probably had a few divorces.
Not them, but like the world.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
But I don't know. But so it's. Again, I don't have a closure to that because I haven't reached the end of their story.
I
but
want
just
an update. Yeah, when you finish the game, I want the update.
Oh yeah, I'll give an update for sure.
Gotcha.
I do want to actually come back and do like a wrap up to Assassin's Creed because I know we did. When the game first came out, I had spent a few hours in it. Like I did my initial like reactions to it and everything like that. But now that I'm getting into the game and uncovering more layers and all these other parts about it and little things about like the character of Bayek and how he is different from other Assassin's Creed characters and Assassin's Creed protagonists in the past. It's just there's a lot I want to get back into. So it's and they keep adding more. Ubisoft actually came up and said that they are not going to do another new Assassin's Creed game this year because they're going to focus more on Origins and providing more DLC.
Okay, see, I like that approach a lot better.
I do too.
Like,
because
as opposed
I'm like,
to releasing
yes,
new,
give me more.
New iterations, just build on the ones you already have.
Exactly.
That's kudos to them. I like that approach a lot.
Oh yeah, so it seems to be it's gonna be sticking around for a while, which I'm glad about because I'm really enjoying this game. Like I said, gonna platinum it. So I only do that if I'm really enjoying the game. So that is my number 2 couple.
Anyways, I finally remembered one that I did from last year.
Oh, yeah?
It was Delilah and Henry from
That's
Firewatch.
right, from Firewatch, yeah.
And actually, I think I thought about it almost to do it for this episode, and then I was like, damn it, I already talked about them. Because actually, they're still my favorite, Delilah and Henry, even though they technically never really get to be together.
So sad.
I know, crying. Okay, so my number 1 then is an older game that you've heard me talk about at least a little bit before, but that you haven't heard me expand on a lot.
Oh, okay. See, I was going to say Legend of Dragoon.
And this particular side quest, I almost did that. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me, man. So this is a side quest, technically, from really a game that has managed to make itself really fond in my heart, even though I haven't played it as much as some others. It's Skyward Sword.
Oh, nice.
So The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and this is the, we're going to abbreviate it and call it the Ghost Toilet side quest. Oh, you're in for some fun times, buddy.
Okay.
So actually, one of the best things that Skyward Sword did was characterization. The characters in Skyward Sword felt very familiar, very real. You felt like Link had been living with them all his life, which he had been, and it wasn't a Breath of the Wild kind of thing where Link wakes up and he's all alone and he has no friends because they're all dead.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. And that's literally minute
I mean, he
one.
wakes up in Breath of the Wild and he's like, I'm 100 years later. And
whoops. No, so Skyward Sword is very different. Link has basically lived his whole life in a floating city called Skyloft. And the game opens with you going to school. So, like, you're basically a regular school kid and you go to Skyloft Academy and you have, like, classmates. And it's very real and very normal in a way. And some of your classmates are people that you can interact with throughout the game.
okay.
In a very big way. So one of the main side quests involves 3 people, technically 4th, but it's questionable on whether or not it's a people. And that would be Pippet, the school's self-appointed, I guess, hall monitor. He's like such a tool. Pippet sucks. I hate Pippet so much. Like, some people love him because he's very like, what ho, Link, how goes it, meet my man? And it's just like, shut up, Pippet,
You
God.
pompous oaf.
I know, I hate him. I hate Pippet. And then there's this other kid, Colin, who is, it's actually spelled Cawlin because all of their names are meant to be sort of warped versions of birds. So actually all of their names are meant to at least evoke certain types of birds.
And that's when you ride like a big ass bird.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you get a big, they're loft wings. AKA there's a real bird. What is it called?
Isn't it like the shoebill?
It's the something bill stork or something like that.
I mean, the shoebill one is the only one.
Yes,
The
it's
one
a
that's
shoe
got like
bill.
the really
Yeah.
Okay.
So loft wings are based off of shoe bills and shoebill. Shoe bills.
shoe.
That's such a weird word.
pretty sure I'm right.
Anyways, so we're getting off topic here. So Pippet,
No, we got to discuss the biology.
Colin, who is actually one of the hench people of your main antagonists. Oh, they look
Shoebill.
so silly.
Stork,
They're so cute.
technically.
So the shoebill stork, so cute. And anyways, like, shoebill riding is one of the classes you take in your school or whatever. I don't know what they're going to school for. Anyways, so Colin is one of the other side characters of this quest.
Okay.
He's actually like a short, like mad, he always looks sad guy, and you're like, God, Colin, you suck too.
Cheer up, bro.
Yeah, he's never happy, and for good reason, as we'll later learn. And Coraine, who is one of the few other girls in the game. So Coraine, Pippet, and Colin all go to your school. They're all your friends, I guess, except for Colin, who's not really your friend. And you have eventually an interesting side quest that opens up. So after a certain point of the game, you can go to the marketplace, and one of the vendors will kind of mention to you on the side, like, man, like, really, you just overhear them. You don't even talk to them directly, and they're talking about, man, we've been hearing some weird wailing cries coming out of the school lately, and you're like, oh no, what's going on at school? So in Skyward Sword, there's a very defined day and night system. So if you go to bed and wake up at night in the school, you wake up, you exit your bedroom, and you hear this wailing sound, and you're like, oh no, what's going on? And you go all the way down the hallway to the haunted bathroom. And if you
Ghost toilet.
If you open the door, you encounter the ghost toilet.
Is it actually a toilet? It's a ghost?
Yeah, no. So what actually happens is you go all the way to the end of the hallway and you like knock on the bathroom door because it's closed. Normally it's open during the day and you can go in whenever you want. And you knock on the door and like a ghostly voice says, paper, bring me some paper. It's hilarious. And you're like, okay, ghost, I'll bring you some paper.
2-ply?
So
3-ply?
what are you, Charmin? What's the situation in there?
Quilted Northern.
Quilted Northern. So you leave and you go to bed and you wake back up in the daytime. And then you basically talk to Colin at a certain point. And Colin's like, hey man, Link, he actually approaches you, which is very strange because you know that he hates your guts. And he's like, I need your help. I'm not happy about this, but here. And he gives you a letter. And he's like, I need you to give this to Coraine. And you're like, okay, I gather that this is a love letter, but what am I going to do with it? Because I know that ghost needs paper. So you have just been given paper at a very convenient time. So this is where you kind of have an option of how to approach this side quest. But it ends in the same result either way. I should just go on ahead and say. So if you choose like I did, to give the ghost the letter, the ghost will be like, thank you. Like you literally slide the letter under the door and the ghost takes it and presumably uses it for their ghostly toilet purposes. And eventually you do see the ghost and it's literally just like a hand, which is actually a great callback to Majora's Mask because there was a side quest featuring a ghost toilet, which I'm sure you know.
Absolutely, I do.
Absolutely not. Anyways, it was a great callback to Majora's Mask. So if you give the ghost the letter, eventually a couple of nights from then, you can go into Colin's room at night, and the ghost read his letter and fell in love with him. And the ghost is like stroking his face while he sleeps, and it's like so handsome. And you're like, oh God. And like Colin's there like having nightmares because the ghost is trying to like romance him. It's so funny. And the ghost, if that's the path that you take, will be the one to give you the reward from the side quest. So you either get the reward from the ghost, or alternatively, if you actually give the letter to Karain. Okay. So if you go to Karain and you like talk to her and she's like, you try to give her the letter, she reads it, and there's this big dramatic, like everybody's alarmed about things because Pibbit shows up and he's like, no, that's my woman. But he doesn't actually say that. What really happens is Karain reads Colin's letter and she's like, I'm sorry, Colin, I don't have those feelings for you. I love Pibbit. And I'm like, really, Karain, this bitch? You're gonna go with Pibbit? I hate Pibbit. And Karain is the worse for it. She deserves better. She probably would have been better off with the toilet ghost. But so either you can get the reward for the quest by getting Pippet's reward, where he's like, thank you, you've showed us the way, we can finally be together. Or the preferred option, give that ghost the letter for it to use as toilet paper and it falls in love with Colin. And that's the true OTP of Skyward Sword, you guys. Toilet Ghost and Colin. Number 1, baby. I love that side quest.
That's bizarre.
It's one of my favorite ones.
That's one of the craziest things
I've
ever
love
heard.
that you like give the ghost his letter and it's like, oh,
what you gonna do with that ghost toilet?
Yeah, what do you do? What's going on in there, ghost toilet?
That's.
But yeah, 10 out of 10. Would ghost toilet again. It's my favorite one.
Well, okay.
Switching gears.
Mine here is going to not quite be so far-fetched, a little more grounded, I'd say.
Whatever, you don't know ghost toilet's heart.
I don't, but I do know these people's heart. And this is not one that's as much of a romance as it is more of a familial relationship.
Oh, I do love the family times.
And this one is also from a more recent game, so again, I'll be trying to avoid spoilers, but Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, okay, very interesting.
And the characters in this one are Aloy and Rost.
That's her, like...
Father figure.
Gotcha.
So you meet Rost at the very beginning of the game. Opening cinematic to this game, you meet Rost. He has been called by the village mothers of the Nora people. And the thing about this, though, is that Rost is an outcast. And the whole thing is outcasts, once they're outcasts, you don't talk to them, you don't acknowledge their existence.
What did he do to get cast out?
Oh, man.
Does it say?
It does, I believe. I think he, like...
Tax fraud?
No, it was one of those things he got kicked out for, but it was like actually a very noble reason. But
so he's not really a bad guy.
No, Rost is
Rost
is a stand-up guy.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so you meet him there, and so it's this whole thing of he's having this meeting with the mothers, which they're like that shouldn't be happening really, and they give him Aloy as a baby because she. In the story, and they say this, so this isn't very spoilery.
Like this is day 1 of the game.
Day 1, like she, she was given to us from the mountain, which is like the mountain is where, that is like what the Nora main village is built around and all this, and they worship as kind of a god, and so you say this, and Ross is like, well, where's the mother? And they're just like, she's from.
How about you don't ask too many questions,
exactly.
buddy?
Yeah, she's like she's from the mountain, and Ross being just like. Okay, I'll take this child and raise it, I guess.
I guess if you're bored and outcast, you'll happily take a kid.
And so that was the thing, is that like we can't really have her in the village because of all this, and all the different stuff. And so Ross is like, okay, so he steps up immediately. He's like, fine, I'll take this child. And so then what the next part of the game is where you actually get to play as Aloy as a 6-7-year-old girl.
Oh, that's cute.
And you get to see her interaction with Ross there. And it is obviously because she knows no different. I mean, she knows like Ross isn't her real father, but still he's her father.
She has red hair.
Exactly.
He has black hair.
Yeah, big thick beard. She does not.
Genders
are different, but
genders
still.
are different.
But yeah, so but you can tell that they have this. it's almost of like a master apprentice thing as much as it is a father-daughter thing. And it almost seems when you do meet it it almost seems that Rost is kind of cold to her and is more focused on being a master, being seen as a master in their relationship with each other. But you also see his softness.
Very Qui-Gon Jinn.
Exactly, very much so. And so
like that? I snuck one in.
I do like that. I appreciate a good Star Wars reference. But yeah, so he and that's how he ended. Like, he's very stern with her. He's very, especially because in the beginning he's training her. They're going through some different things. He's showing her to it's basically your tutorial to the game of here's how you gather things. Here's how you can use rocks to distract the machines and all this other stuff.
So he's not about the warm fuzzies.
Not really, but you can tell that he cares a lot for her and how he does interact and talk with her. Like, my favorite thing about him is whenever he wants her to do something, he'll walk away and be like, "Follow." That's all he'll say. He'll just be like, "Follow."
One of those people.
That's what I mean. He's very stern. He's very like a serious man.
Doesn't he know please and thank you?
Not very well. But still, and so one of the very first things that happens too is a boy from the village is surrounded by a group of the machines, and Aloy wants to save him and all this, and Ross is like, I mean, they're machines. Like, what can you do? Now, previous to this, I believe, I hope I'm not getting my chronology of the game mixed up. Either this happens immediately before or immediately after this event. Is Aloy has fallen down into a cave that is a broken down, it becomes clear it's it was a building of the old ones, is what they call the civilization before.
Gotcha.
Basically us. You know what I mean? And so she is in there, and when she's in there, she finds her focus, which is just this little. She finds it off of a dead body in there, and it plays a happy birthday message on it, and she's instantly like, "Oh, what's this thing?" And he puts it in her ear because that's what she found it on the body, was in the ear, so she knows it goes there, and she, it suddenly activates and shows her all this information about her surroundings, and so she then goes up and is able to climb out of it. And obviously Ross is like, "Oh, what happened? Are you all right? You're not supposed to be in those areas. They're forbidden." And then he sees that she has the focus, and he's like, "Oh, give that. No, I need that. You don't know what it does. You don't know what it could do to you. You need to give it to me." And Aloy is very resistant and doesn't want to give it up, and is like, "No, it's mine. It's mine," and all this other stuff.
Man,
and it's
you're
one
not
of those
give away your new cool headphones.
Exactly,
but it's one of those. Would do that?
It's one of those moments. Ross relents, and he's like, "Okay. I'm going to trust your decision with this." And so then you're able.
Is Aloy adult Aloy by that point?
No, she's still a child. So it's one of those things where it's he's being that teacher mentor role to her, but then also the softness of the father figure, where he's just like, "I could be a hard ass and take this from you, but I also understand we'll see. I'm going to trust what you're feeling with this.
It's like if you dared to let one of your own future children play with just one of
your
Star Wars dolls.
Just one.
just one. And then if it went badly, give it back.
Exactly. But it's one of those things of give and take. And so then because of that, obviously Aloy is asking the questions of, who's my mother? Why can't I be in this village? There's it's a very sad moment where she, after she's able to rescue that boy, she follows him back to the village, and there are all these other kids, and they obviously know that Ross is an outsider, and that therefore she's an outsider, but she wants to, they're all picking berries or something, and she wants to try to interact and hang out with them, and then some of the kids start bullying her, making fun of her, and throwing dirt and stuff at her, and then an adult comes by and ushers all the kids away, no, I can't talk to her, and she's obviously very sad and upset, and why can't I be one of them? And so Ross then is I've been training you for this life as an outcast, but if you really do have these answers these questions that you want answered, there is a way to figure it out, to find out who your mother is, to find out all these different things. And it's to take part in the Proving, which is this event that happens. Yeah, when I talked about Horizon Zero Dawn way back then, it's this big competition and event where basically whoever wins the Proving is granted a boon, a wish of of anything they would desire, and it's held by by that point young adults of the tribe. And so the whole thing is, and it doesn't come out until later, that Rost knows that if you succeed. And if she wins the Proving, she'll be granted back into the Nora family. And then, because of the laws of the land, and he abides by the laws of the land and all that stuff, they won't be able to talk.
Oh,
But it's this thing that like Rost knows this, and this is this child
personal sacrifice.
Exactly, that he's really pushing for. He's like, I'm trying to train you. I'm trying to raise you and all this stuff. But if you really need to know, you can do this. And he does sacrifice his own like relationship with her to be like, you can go and win this, and you'll be able to find these answers to these questions that you have. And so it's this. The first like few hours of Horizon Zero Dawn like have so much emotion packed into it because of your relationship with Rost. And so I don't really want to go much further because then it does start getting it, and I can't avoid spoilers. The game has at this point not even been out a year yet, so like right out a year, and so probably still plenty of people who want to play it still. So I don't want to go much further and give away any more of the story. But their relationship is very similar to Bayek and Aya. It's just.
Oh, gotcha.
In the sense that, like,
I thought for sure you were going to say Joel and Ellie.
Oh, yeah, Joel and Ellie might even be better. But because, well, no, not really. No? Not better. I mean, it is a similar relationship and everything. But this one, as I've said, at the end of Last of Us, Joel becomes very selfish.
Right.
And even could be more seen of almost an anti-hero character, where it's like he is the main good guy of this game, and as is Ellie, but he makes some pretty questionable decisions there at the end.
Right.
Whereas Rost is totally going for this. It's this thing he didn't ask for. He was commanded to do, and he's accepting it, and is taking on this father mentor role with her, and even still knowing that he has this companion with him in this supposed life of solitude. Like, he can interact with other outcasts, but still, it's like this is, for all intents and purposes, his daughter, and he is willing to show her the way that will lead her away from him. And, for better or for worse, and how the story takes place from there, like, that obviously has some consequences, and he knows that. But it's just that point, that and that love that he has for her, even though he is, like I said, very stern, very can be standoffish with her and everything, because it's just still at the end, he still has that fatherly love for her and wanting her to be able to find her own way. And so, because of that, I gotta say,
the heartstrings.
It really is.
Did you shed any tears?
Oh God!
Did you really?
I mean, not really, but like it's one of those things.
I probably would have. I'm a crier at video games.
Oh, this one would.
And
the beginning part of Horizon would definitely do it then.
Yeah,
but like for me, it's one of those, like the first couple hours of Horizon, I was just like, my heart,
mi corazón,
the feels.
The feels.
But yeah, so Aloy and Rost, and more specifically, I guess from that, really Rost, like he was a stand-up guy. I said.
Stand-up guy.
So, really quick, we did reach out to some of our patrons to see if they had any relationships and romances that were their favorites.
Another convenient use for being a patron.
Oh yeah,
you get to interact with us on the Discord, super exclusive, and then you get to have your voice heard. Everybody should do it. There you go.
So we asked them for a couple of their favorite relationships, and I'll just read off a couple of those real quick. Riven says Zaya and Rakan, which I hope I'm pronouncing those right, but those are heroes from League of Legends. I had to look up because
I didn't know that one either.
Yeah, I didn't know that one.
Got me.
Let's see. Dylan says Triss and Geralt from The Witcher 3.
Did you talk about that one previously?
I had actually probably talked about Geralt and Yennefer, I think.
Okay.
In the last
shipping wars,
romance and relationship, yeah, because he's all that, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm on the Geralt and Yennefer train, and so he wasn't about that. Okay, so I saw this happen earlier in there that I guess I'm assuming it's Ark, right? Who changed her name to Oscar? That threw me off so hard. I was like, who is this? Go back.
Hilarious.
But yeah, I think she had one, didn't she also?
She did.
Yeah, she did. I'll let you read that one.
Oh, wait, where was it? Yuna and Titus.
So who is that?
Hilarious. So Yuna and Titus are from Final Fantasy X.
Oh, okay.
They're like the title characters.
Oh.
So Titus is your main protagonist. You are Titus throughout the game. In the Japanese, they call him Titus, which is too stupid for me to say in American audiences. So we will call him Titus because it's Tidus. Anyways, Titus and Yuna are the two title characters. Yuna is your main summoner. She's also kind of like your white mage. They very much have like a romance thing going throughout the whole game. It actually ends kind of tragically.
Oh no.
Spoiler alert for a game that's really, really old. But they can bring it back in 10 too.
There you go.
So anyways, there's this really fun, there's this classic scene where I forget what Titus is trying to do, but they're having a conversation and Titus like I guess is trying to laugh something off, but his laugh is so horrible and so fake that like the whole Final Fantasy fandom just latched onto that, and like people will not let it go.
Really?
Like
It's
no
become
one
its
will
own
let it
like
go.
internal
It's become
meme.
its own meme. It's fantastic. So Titus and Yuna, hysterical.
Nice. So thank you everyone for sending. Damn it, the camera. I'm bad about noticing it today. So thank you everyone for sending in those wonderful of your favorite personal relationships. Okay, so I know we really don't have time to go into our honorable mentions.
We can mention them real quick.
But do you want to mention them?
Yes.
Because mine, I kept it because I was like, we could really, it's one that we both could go on.
Okay.
And so I was
gotcha.
like, we need to.
All right, I'll say mine first then because it's a little bit lamer.
Okay, go.
All right, I'll say mine first then because it's probably lamer than yours, and it was also one that I think Bro Mogan may have mentioned. It's
Okay.
Squall and Renoa from Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, I feel
You
like
ever
we've
need
talked about that one.
romances, you go to Final Fantasy. They've got it in spades. Anyways,
Nice.
yeah.
So
Final
that was
Fantasy VIII, Squall and Renoa.
Okay, so mine, and we've talked about this at length already. Not really the couple at length. Well, we have, but like, I'll spit it out.
Waluigi and Wario?
No.
Dang.
Max Caulfield and Chloe Price from Life
I
is Strange.
almost did them.
I almost did too.
Oh, we probably should have.
Probably should have, but that would have been the whole episode.
That would have been the whole episode because we've talked about it so much.
And they're such a great pairing.
They
and it's such a
are.
great relationship, seeing their relationship build in the first Life is Strange game. And so, like, season 1 of Life is Strange, oh my God.
No, I should have talked about Mr. Jefferson and and Max. I would have been like, OTP, Mr. Jefferson. How messed up would that have been?
It's my favorite relationship
My favorite
ever.
relationship.
No.
New. Chloe
So-
and Max.
And so I'm sure, like, I could follow it whenever I get around in my backlog to playing Before the Storm, I could talk about probably Chloe and Rachel as
Yeah,
well.
I was about to say, what if we like differed and you were all Team Rachel and I was all Team Max?
Well, see, that's the thing, because the final episode is supposed to be like another episode of, which it comes out in March, I believe, but it's with Max and Chloe again.
That's right. Oh, it's
like,
going to be great.
It's gonna be so good.
Reunited.
But I was like, I put them down, and I was like, no, we can't. That'll be
Because we would
literally
talk
be
about
the whole
it the
episode.
whole time. We really would.
Yeah, so I had to put that one by because we
Fantastic.
already did a whole episode about Life is Strange. We actually have done 2 episodes now on Life is Strange. Like the first one was the review of the first episode.
It
and then we
deserves a third episode.
did. I mean, maybe we'll do that someday when we're really desperate for topics. We'll just be like, let's talk about Life is Strange again. Yeah, okay.
Let's just revisit that.
Yeah, let's just come back. Let's
we can
bring that
talk
one
all
back.
about Nathan. What a tool, right?
Yeah, what a tool. Was
that his name?
Yeah, Nathan Prescott and the whole
there we
Prescott
go.
family.
In my head, I always call him Nathan Drake because
You hate
he
Uncharted.
sucks and Uncharted sucks.
God.
2 for 2.
There you go. But anyway, so that is our list of relationships and romances. But so obviously, though, we still would like to hear from you, our other listeners out there, of what some of your favorite relationships and romances are. So send those our way either through our email, teamchatpockets@gmail.com, or writing a post on our Facebook page, sending us a tweet, or if you're again a patron who missed out on the original calling for lists, you can send those your way too on the Discord channel.
Eloquent, good sir.
Thank you. I thought I made my way through it quite well. But with that concludes this episode of Team Chat Podcast. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see you all next time.